Hello everyone and welcome to this new session on Ideotype Breeding Concept and Examples. Myself, Dr. Narkade Gopal Vasudev, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Genetics and Plant Breeding, School of Agriculture, SR University, Varanasi. So, in this session, we will deal with what is meant by Ideotype Breeding, what is the concept, and some examples. So firstly, we'll see what is exactly the ideotype breeding. So in broad sense, an ideotype is a biological model which is expected to perform or behave in a predictable manner within a defined environment. So this ideotype is the ideal model, ideal model for the defined environment. So more specifically, you can say like crop ideotype is a plant model which is expected to yield a greater quantity of grains, fiber, oil or other useful products when developed as a cultivar. The same like I told you like crop ideotype, it is a plant model which is expected to yield greater quantity of grains, fibers, oils or other useful product when developed as a cultivar. So this term ideotype was first proposed by Donald in 1968 working on wheat crop. Right. So this ideotype is considered as alternative breeding strategy. As like I told you in last slide, this concept of ideotype was given by Donald in 1968 working with wheat crop. So literal meaning of ideotype means a form denoting an idea, or you can say ideal plant model. Like definition itself, we have seen like a crop ideotype is a plant model which is expected to yield a greater quantity or quality of grain, oil, or other useful product when developed as a cultivar. So some synonyms for ideotype like model plant type, ideal model plant type, or ideal plant type, anything you can say for ideotype breeding. So some historical background, like first we have seen the term given by Donald. So according to Donald, an ideotype is a form that represents an idea. It emerged from the need to improve the crop varieties for better food security. Over the years, the concept has evolved with the advancement in genetic research and biotechnology. So it provides the picture of important traits that should be gathered in crop plant. So this ideotype will represent an idea for improvement of the crop varieties for better food security. There are different types of ideotype. So mainly there are three types. First, isolation ideotype. So this isolation ideotype will perform best when space planted. That's why the name indicates like isolation. So you need to do space planting, right? So like free tailoring, leaf spreading plant in case of cereals. So space planting is required. So that's why it is called as isolation ideotype. So next, competition ideotype. So this competition ideotype example in genetically heterogeneous population. Then third type, crop ideotype. So crop ideotype best at commercial crop densities, which is a poor crop. This crop ideotype is a poor competitor. So development of ideotype. So for development of ideotype, you need to consider some criteria, or you should have some idea about some points. So what are those points? Like following knowledge while developing an ideotype. So first point is target area and target environment. Next, quality consideration. You should have idea about the current agronomic practices, adequate information, and simulation models can be used as the aids, helping aids. So these 4 or 5 points you should consider while before development of idiotype. What are the characteristics of crop idiotype? So you are going to develop idiotype for some specific crop. So what should be the characteristics of that crop idiotype? So first, the crop idiotype should be weak competitive. This crop idiotype should be efficient in utilizing the environmental resources, sensitive to cultural practices. It includes morphological and physiological characteristics that results in high harvest index. So, this crop idiotype should be sensitive to cultural practices. So, it includes morphological and physiological characteristics that results in high harvest index. Crop idiotype should be grown in weed-free environment. Weeds should not be there. And plant selection strategy need to be done for features of crop idiotype. So during selection, you need to plan your selection strategy. Right? So these are some characteristics of crop idiotype. Like weak competitor, it should be efficient in utilizing the environmental resources, sensitive to cultural practices. It should not only yield, but it should include the morphological and physiological characteristics. Ultimately, it will lead to high harvest index. So, crop idiotype should be grown in weed-free environment. Weeds should not be there. If weeds will be there, you will not get idea of the actual performance of that idiotype. And for selection purpose, you need to plan a selection strategy. Right. So, what are the factors which will affect the idiotypes? So, there are some factors which will affect the idiotype. So, first factor is crop species. Like this idiotype differs from crop to crop. Dicots and monocots idiotypes are significantly different. Then next factor, that is cultivation. Next factor, that is cultivation. Rainfed crops have different features from those, means rainfed and irrigated crops, those are having significantly different features. So that is again a major factor. Next most important factor is socio-economic condition of farmers. Socio-economic condition of farmers. So this crop idiotype is also influenced by farmers' socio-economic condition. So for instance, like if we'll take one example, dwarf sorghum works well for mechanical harvesting in United States. But that same dwarf sorghum is unsuitable for African farmers, where they are using stocks for fuel or hut construction. So that's why dwarf sorghum is not suitable for the African farmers. So in that way, we need to consider the socio-economic condition of farmers. Right. So next point is economic use. So it depends on what purpose it is being grown. Like if suppose you develop one wheat idiotype, but before development you need to consider the economic purpose. Like what purpose farmers will grow. Like more leafy genotypes are preferred for fodder purpose, whereas less leafy genotypes for grain purpose. So that's why this economic use also it is the one of the important factor affecting the crop idiotype. Right. So these are some four factors, major factors like crop species, cultivation practices, socio-economic condition of farmers, and economic use. Then we have seen features, we have seen factors affecting crop idiotype. Now, our main point, that is steps in idiotype breeding. So mainly there are four steps, like development of conceptual theoretical model, selection of base material, incorporation of desirable characters into single genotype, and last one, selection of ideal or model plant type. So these are the four steps involved in idiotype breeding. So we'll see one by one. So first step, that is development of conceptual theoretical model. Right. So as we have seen in features, like idiotype consists of various morphological and physiological traits. Right. So the values of these traits are specified to develop a conceptual theoretical model. So let's say, for example, plant height is important in fodder crops. Right. Maturity duration is important in rainfed condition. Similarly, leaf number, leaf angle, leaf size, the photosynthetic rate of that crop are specified for each crop and situation. So for each crop and each and every situation, the specification should be there regarding leaf number, leaf angle, leaf size, and photosynthetic rate. So next is selection of base material. So after development of conceptual model of idiotype, this selection of base material is an important step. Right. So genotypes are used for devising a model plant type. Whichever genotypes you are selecting for devising a model plant type, those genotypes should have a broad genetic base and wider adaptability. So whatever the genotypes we are selecting, that should have broad genetic base and wider adaptability, so that whatever new plant type you are developing, that should perform stable across the environmental condition. So for that purpose, the base material should have broad genetic base and wider adaptability. So genotypes for plant stature, maturity duration, leaf size and leaf angles are selected from global gene pool of the concerned crop species. So if you want to select the genotypes for plant structure, maturity duration, leaf size and leaf angles, so you need to select the genotypes for these characters from global gene pool of the concerned crop species. Okay. Genotypes resistant or tolerant to drought, salinity, alkalinity, disease and insect are selected from the gene pool with the cooperation of physiologists, soil scientists, pathologists and entomologists. So actually, breeding is not a single subject. This breeding will integrate physiology, soil science, pathology, entomology, biotechnology, bioinformatics. So you need to work with everybody for selection of genotypes resistant to biotic and abiotic stress. Right. Then next, first we have developed the model. Second, we have selected the base material. Now third, that is the step, incorporation of desirable traits. The next important step, that is combining various morphological and physiological traits from different selected genotypes into a single genotype. So now we need to incorporate, or we need to combine various morphological and physiological traits from different selected genotypes into a single genotype. So knowledge of the association between various characters is essential before starting a hybridization program, as it helps in combining the desirable traits effectively. So how you are going to incorporate these desirable traits? So for incorporation of these desirable traits, you need to follow breeding procedures. So as there are different breeding procedures are used like single cross, three-way cross, multiple cross, back cross and composite crossing. So all these breeding methods are available. You can follow the breeding methods and you can incorporate the desirable trait. So techniques like mutation breeding and heterosis breeding are also used for development of ideal plant types, specifically in major field crops. Backcross technique is commonly used for transferring the oligogenic traits from selected germplasm lines into the background of adapted genotype. Right. So for incorporation of this desirable traits, you can select any of the breeding method and along with mutation and heterosis breeding and backcross breeding options are there. Then after that, you can select the ideal plant type. Selection of ideal plant type. So these plants combining desirable morphological and physiological traits are selected in segregating populations and intermediate to achieve the desired plant type. So these plants combining the desirable morphological and physiological trait that you need to select in segregating population and you need to intermit in between to achieve the desired plant type. So these morphological features are judged through visual observations, while the physiological parameters you need to record using appropriate instruments. Screening for biotic and abiotic states you need to conduct under controlled condition with support from experts in physiology, soil science, pathology and entomology. And finally, the genotypes possessing the traits specified in the conceptual model. Those genotypes only you need to select, multiply, tested across the location, and you can release release that as a variety for commercial cultivation. So first you need to select the plants in segregating population like F2 onwards. You need to do intermating in between to achieve the desired plant type. You need to record the morphological observations visually. You need to record the physiological data by using the appropriate instruments. You need to screen the whatever the progenies are there for biotic and abiotic stasis across locations, and whatever the genotypes which will possess the traits you have specified in the conceptual model, that genotypes you need to select, multiply, you need to go for multi-location trial, and after that desirable genotypes you can release as a variety for commercial cultivation. So that is how ideotype you can develop. Right. So now we'll see what are the features. So the crop ideotype consists of several morphological physiological traits that contributes to enhanced or higher yield as compared to the prevalent cultivars. The morphological and physiological feature of crop ideotype are designed based on whether it is mean for irrigation or rain-fed cultivars. Likewise, we have seen factors affecting ideotype. In that, we have seen one factor, that is cultivation practices, whether it is irrigated or rain-fed. So on the basis of that, you can design the morphological and physiological features. The ideal plant type depends on target production environment. That is most important thing. The ideal plant types, that is model plant, have been discussed in several crops such as wheat, maize, cotton, pulses and some vegetables. The important features of idiotype for different crops. Now we will see one by one based on specific crop requirements. So now some methodologies you can adapt for development of idiotypes. Like development involves using both traditional and genetic engineering with some modern biotechnological techniques like molecular markers, genomic selection, and these genomic tools are increasingly being utilized to identify and validate the desirable traits. And after that, last but most important, that is phenotypic selection and screening. So these are some methodologies you can adapt for development of idiotypes. Now we will see one by one crop examples. Like first, it is wheat. The ideal characteristics of wheat. So like a short and strong stem, which will impart the lodging resistance and reduces the losses due to lodging. Second character, that is erect leaves. It will provide better arrangement for proper light distribution, resulting in higher photosynthesis, that is CO2 fixation. Third, small and few leaves. So it will reduce the water loss through transpiration. Leaves are the key sites for photosynthesis, respiration and transpiration. Large ear. So it will produce the more grains per year. Then next character, presence of awns. That is awns contribute to photosynthesis. And last, single clone. So these are some ideal characteristics, idiotype features of wheat. Next, we'll see idiotype features of maize. Like in 1975, Mock and Pierce, who proposed the ideal plant type of maize. In maize, higher yields were obtained from plants with low number of tillers, large size of cobs, angled leaves for better light interception. Planting such types at closer spacing resulted in higher yield. So the main characteristics like low number of tillers, large size of cobs, and angled leaves for better light perception. Okay. Next crop, that is ideal features for cotton. The plant stature should be short, like 90 to 120 cm. Compact and sympodial plant habit forming pyramidal shape. The next character like determinate fruiting habit with unimodal distribution of bolls. Duration should be short, like 150 to 165 days. Responsive to high fertilizer dose. High degree of interplant competitive ability. High resistance to insect pests and diseases. High physiological efficiency. So these are some ideal features of cotton. Pulses. Ideal general features of pulses like determinate plant type, erect and upright plant, early vigor, early flowering and synchronous maturity. Pot bearing well above the soil surface. That is again most important feature in pulses. More number of pods per plant and higher number of seeds per pod. High harvest index. Again this is ideal feature. And the common general feature for all the crop, that is stability in yield. So we will see some specific examples also for pulses. Like first it is chickpea. Chickpea, both conditions we will see, that is rain-fed and irrigated. So first we will see rain-fed. Like first important trait, that is early vigor. Plant height should be 50 to 60 centimeter with 9 to 10 secondary branches. Plant type should be tall, erect or semi-erect. More number of pods per plant and podding from 10th node. right? So as far as irrigated conditions, high input responsiveness, plant type tall 75 to 90 centimeter and erect habit with broom-shaped branching behavior, synchronous flowering, delayed senescence and determinacy, long fruiting branches, short internode. Then lodging resistance, pod bearing from approximate 20 centimeter above the ground. So these are some ideal features of chickpea for rain-fed and irrigated condition. Next, pigeon pea for long and medium duration varieties. Like the first semi-dwarf plant type like 1.5 to 1.8 meter, suitable for mechanized plant protection. Open canopy with determinacy, non-cluster pod bearing, long fruiting branches for higher yield. Then next, middle and top pod bearing, spreading type suitable for intercropping in south and central India. Plant type should be compact for intercropping in northern India. Then next crop, that is mung bean, summer or spring season. Crop duration should be short, that is 60 to 80 days. Medium plant height 60 to 80 centimeter. Determinate growth habit with synchronous maturity. High initial growth vigor. More pods at the top of the plant with non-shattering habit. This non-shattering habit. Longer pods with more than 10 seeds per pod. Tolerance to terminal heat stress. These are the characters for spring and summer season. Now we'll see for Kharif season. Mung bean for Kharif season. Balanced vegetative growth. Clear distinction between vegetative and reproductive phases. Tall plants 80 to 100 centimeter with more branches. Synchronous maturity. More number of clusters per plant with pods per cluster. Higher number of seeds per pod. Tolerance to shattering and pre-harvest sprouting. So this is again the most important thing to avoid the loss. Now we will see for some vegetable crops. So in that first we will see the tomato. Larger fruit size, that approximate 150 to 200 gram per fruit. Thick pericarp 0.8 to 1 centimeter. Long fruiting period 8 to 9 months. And the most important character, like it should have ability to set the fruits in wide temperature range, that is 15 degree to 45 degree centigrade. Shelf life should be more under room temperature. Indeterminate growth with single stem plant. More number of fruits per plant. High TSS, total soluble solids, like 5.5 bricks, and acidity 0.4 to 0.5%. And last, resistant to whitefly and other important diseases and insects. So these are some characters, ideal features for tomato. Now we will see the ideotype features for brinjal. So first, high yield. Next, earliness. Then fruit shape, size and color as per the consumer's preference. Then plant type erect, compact and with sufficient branching. Low proportion of seeds, soft flesh, then low solanine content. Upright, sturdy plant free from lodging. Resistant to bacterial wilt, Phomopsis blight, little leaf, root knot nematode, shoot and fruit borer along with chassids. So these are characteristics for brinjal. Then we will see characteristics for chili and capsicum. So in case of chili and capsicum, high yield of fresh and dry fruit, right? Earliness, you will find this in each and every crop. Plant type erect, branching with short internode with good canopy, good shoot growth even with fruit load. Even if more number of fruits are there, the shoot growth should be good. Fresh market fruit size, shape, number of lobes in sweet paper, in case of sweet paper, exocar thickness. Fresh processing for sauce, paste, canning, pickling. Fruit color, pungency and pericarp thickness. Exocarp thickness and pericarp thickness. Dwarf plant type preferred for ornamental. Fruit size and shape is preferred, that is small one. Next, carrot. So, in carrot, early maturity is preferred. Root color, red or orange. Shape, cylindrical, uniform shape, broad or narrow shoulder, and superior root quality. Smooth surface without fibrous roots. Thick flesh. High keratin and high sugar in roots. Leaf top to root ratio should be less. Slow bolting habit, and it should be resistant to important diseases like Alternaria blight and Cercospora blight. These are some characteristics for carrot. Now, next crop is okra. Early and high yield. Dwarf plant with short internodes and more number of nodes are preferred. Pod surface should be smooth without pubescence. Number of ridges 5. Pod color dark green or at some places light green or shining green, depend on consumer preference. Suitable for processing, particularly freezing, canning and dehydration. Resistant to biotic abiotic stresses, specifically yellow vein mosaic virus, shoot and fruit borer, abiotic stresses, and nowadays tobacco virus is also there, TSV. Next crop, cabbage. Early head maturity, short stem, less number of non-wrapper leaves, plant frame, preferably short frame, leaf surface glossy or waxy, spherical head shape, head size and weight that is 1 kg or 800 to 900 gram. This head should be compact. More shelf life, resistant to important diseases and insect pests. And most important, anthocyanin content should be on the higher side in cabbage. Now we have seen some examples. Now we will see what are the merits of ideotype breeding. So this ideotype breeding is an effective method of enhancing the yield through manipulation of various morphological and physiological crop characters. So thus you can exploit both the types of variation. So in this method, various morphological and physiological traits are specified and each trait contributing towards enhanced yield. Ideotype breeding involves experts from disciplines such as plant breeding, physiology, biochemistry, entomology, pathology. Each will contribute to developing the model plants for specific trait. So this method is actually effective method for breaking the yield barriers, where you can utilize the genetically controlled physiological variation which will contribute to higher yield. This ideotype breeding provides the solutions to multiple problems simultaneously, such as resistance to biotic abiotic stresses, lodging resistance, maturity duration, yield and quality by combining, where you can combine the desirable genes into one single genotype. This ideotype breeding, it is an efficient method for development of cultivars suited to specific environment. So just like merits, some demerits also there for ideotype breeding. So this incorporation of several desirable morphological, physiological and disease resistant traits from different sources. So this incorporation is majority of time becomes difficult. Sometimes combining the trait is not possible due to tight linkage between the desirable and undesirable characters. So that is linkage due to linkage drag. This ideotype breeding is very slow method of cultivar development, as combining multiple traits from different sources, it will take more time. Okay. This ideotype breeding is not a substitute for conventional breeding. It only supplements it. This ideotype is a dynamic concept that changes with new knowledge, requirement and policies, requiring continuous modification to meet the evolving demand. So, as far as conclusion, so by focusing on optimal traits, breeders can develop resilient and high yielding varieties in case of vegetables as well as the other crops. So plant ideotypes are pivotal for sustainable agriculture in the era of climate change. It represents a bridge between scientific research and practical farming applications. Continued innovation in this field is essential to meet the global food demands. Now lastly, we will see the differences between traditional and ideotype breeding. So the main objective of this traditional breeding is defined before initiating the breeding work. So similarly in ideotype breeding, we need to prepare conceptual theoretical model, right? So in traditional breeding, selection is focused on yield and some other trait. So simultaneously, if you will see ideotype breeding here, selection is focused on individual plant characters. So in traditional breeding, it usually includes various morphological and economical characters. Ideotype breeding includes various morphological, physiological and biochemical plant characters. The value of each character in traditional breeding is not fixed in advance. But in ideotype breeding, the value of each trait is defined in advance. Traditional breeding is simple and rapid, while ideotype breeding is somewhat difficult and slow method for cultivar development. The phenotype of a new variety is not specified in advance, but you can specify the phenotype of new variety in advance in case of ideotype breeding. So these are some differences between traditional and ideotype breeding. So this is all about ideotype breeding. What is the concept of ideotype breeding? Some examples, merits and demerits, and at last we have seen the differences between traditional and ideotype breeding. So hope you will get some valuable information from this. So thank you very much. We will see you in the next session.